Mr. President, for the aspirations of participants in the July 1st March every year, we always have a diversity, but still you won't miss the theme, the main theme, and you can imagine that for this year, the livelihood topic is quite outstanding, say for example, the wealth gap. But other than livelihood issues, I think for this year, there is one other theme that stands out very significantly, and that's the one country, two systems concept. Yesterday, 20 members spoke, and when they co-signed a letter to President Xi Jinping, in this letter, we want to point out that the concept of one country, two systems is threatened by distortion, and we are really worried, and we think that it shouldn't continue. We have, of course, said that we would like to restart the political reform process so that we can be lifted out of the governance problem. In this letter, we took a look of our history. Upon our return to China, at that time we were told about the basic policy, and we have always been told about one country, two systems, a high degree of autonomy, the people of Hong Kong ruling Hong Kong. High degree of autonomy. I think in recent years it seems that it isn't something that's been mentioned often. And what is meant by high degree of autonomy? It seems that it is subject to different interpretation. At first we thought that it is very high, as tall as Lam Chuk Ting, but in fact the high degree isn't really that high, maybe just the median sort of height. So what actually is meant by Hong Kong people ruling Hong Kong? It was meant by high degree of autonomy. What is important is that the one country, two systems framework has already been laid down in the basic law. 2 years ago, Xi Jinping made a comment. He said that there were new developments in the implementation of one country, two systems. But nevertheless, he said that the central authorities will insist on 2 points. First of all, it will be firm, there won't be changes, and it will be comprehensive and accurate. There won't be any distortion. No change, not to be shaken, not to be deformed. I think they are important principles. The question is, if we say that it should not be distorted, what is its original shape? What is its original form? If we start to have different interpretations about the original, then if one says that this is distortion, the others will say that it hasn't been distorted. But the end result is that we are having a distortion, and this is worrying. Our principles is that we have to emphasize both one country as well as two systems. We mustn't allow either one to get the better of the other. And we have always been told recently that one country is to prevail over two systems. And sometimes they would also dismiss our system. And recently, we have been told about things that would threaten our high degree of autonomy. Say, for example, the basic law interpretation. Article 158 tells us under what circumstances can we have the interpretation of the basic law, what would trigger it, and what sort of process we should undergo. Other than one particular occasion, we have found that the interpretation of the basic law has not been done in line with the basic law provisions. Somebody has said that the basic law interpretation mechanism will be invoked ever more often. And in fact, we are afraid that this is tantamount to amendment of the basic law. If it is to be resorted to so often, so lightly, it is indeed worrying. And in the latest CE election, we have found that there was a severe and serious influence and intervention. And it seems that we understand that the CPG has got substantive power in relation to the composition of the new team of the government. But I think we are supposed to have something such that the team, the choice of the officials should not be lightly intervened with. Say, for example, for the municipality of Tianjin, I think they won't have their government officials being sort of affected in the same way like what we have got for Hong Kong. And intervention of such a nature would erode our confidence in one country, two systems. If we want to restore one country, two systems, I think the CPG should exercise self-constraint, and it should become a practice not to interfere with us. Autonomy, of course, should be subject to some sort of constraints, and both sides should respect the characteristics of each other. As Kenneth Leung has said, trust is also important. If there is a lack of trust, then it will be difficult to achieve anything. Therefore, I hope that in the coming days, the CPG will examine the whole setup so that we won't allow it to be distorted. Thank you.